believe that Africa has played a very big role. And the fact that international criminal justice has really had an impact in Africa. Despite all the criticism and the lack of understanding of the court, I believe it has had an impact in Africa. And I also believe, I've said it several times, that Africa has embraced more the ICC than any other region, really. African States Parties is the largest bloc, the largest regional bloc to ratify the Rome Statute and become state parties. I think the records will show that. So that alone is critically important. Again, when you look at the ICC starting its work, maybe it would have started later, or maybe it would have started in a different way. But the fact that African states took leadership and were referring cases to the ICC, because all this accusation of African bias is because of the fact that many African states have referred their situations to the ICC. I can tell you, as a prosecutor, former prosecutor of the ICC, I can tell you that the cooperation that we received from Africa was more than any cooperation we received from any other part of the world. This is a fact. And if you were to go and look at the records, you will see that this is a fact. In most of the requests that we made to Africa, it will come back positive unless they are not in a position to do so, or unless they are playing a game of pretending to cooperate when they do not. And these are really the exceptions, not the relationship that we have with Africa. So today, I do believe that ICC can continue to have an impact in Africa. I believe that Africa is now poised. They're in a position where they can work more closely with the ICC. I believe that the issue of complementarity is something that has to be explored more deeply, and encouragement and understanding given to most African states, or all of them, that indeed the primary responsibility to investigate and prosecute rests with the state itself. And that what are the ways in which we can look at ICC and states parties or states in Africa, how can we work together? I do not think that it is just one way going. It has to be, it's a two-way street. You know, the collaboration has to be there. The engagement has to be there. And that way, I believe that we can sort out the issue of international criminal justice in a way that will be more acceptable, that will be embraced more, and that we can show effectiveness in this work. In most of the states parties, what I observe is, unfortunately, even the legislation that needs to allow them to take up the issue of investigating and prosecuting is not there. Or more needs to be done for them to be able to investigate. So this is an area that we have to look at together. We have to look at and see whether there is it requires an enabling legislation, or they have to start from scratch. So I think this is important. Another area which I believe we need to study together is really knowledge about the system, about how international criminal justice works, or how it can be useful to them. So that requires, again, training to those persons who will be directly dealing with this, the issue of investigating and prosecuting. I think the issue of resources has to be there also. Resources has to be there, and look for ways in which assistance can be given for this issue of training and the legislation to be put in a better shape to handle this, this situation. And of course, awareness raising. Awareness raising and sensitization is also critically important. We should not forget that. We have to avoid the issue of politicization, because it can really affect the way in which people, especially authorities, in which they can look at criminal prosecution. If accountability is not brought into the picture and justice is done, the perpetrators or would-be perpetrators would not be deterred. The perpetrators will commit again, and those who see that, okay, I can get away from this, would still, would not be deterred from committing these crimes. As I said, it is, for me, always it is the victims that matter. It's the victims of these crimes. They deserve justice, and they are asking for some. I can tell you that many of them have the only hope they have is in the ICC. This is a fact. Many of them have seen this. And if this institution that they trust and hope that it will address their concerns and what has happened to them, if it doesn't work effectively, I think this can even be more destructive. I always say that ICC is not a panacea. I think over the years you've heard me say that all the time. It's not a panacea, and it cannot address every problem. It cannot. Likewise, the ad hoc and the hybrid tribunals. We put them in place. We put them to make them work in different situations, but there must be the encouragement for domestic jurisdictions to also take up that responsibility. And in doing so, also try as much as possible to create this panoply, as you said, of mechanisms that can be used, that when one fails, another can at least work. But what is more important for me is to coordinate, the coordination, to engage with one view, one goal in view, to ensure that justice ends up to be done. We have to really mean it when we say that impunity is not an option. But impunity is not an option can only be realized if we ensure that it is not only one institution that is dealing with this, but there are many institutions or many mechanisms that is in a position to handle this and to handle it effectively, and that there is coordination amongst the different mechanisms. I don't know if I can leave the justice world. I'm not so sure. I think over the years I've explained that it is just something in me. It's innate. And from a very young girl, I just felt that we all have a role to play, and that we must ensure that those who look up to us for justice to be done, we stand up for them. So I don't think, even if I were to go away, I will go very far. So it's there for me. Of course, I am looking towards going back to my country, contributing to national development and to serve. I like to serve. But I'm sure that whatever I'm going to do will not be too far away from justice.